All right, welcome to the White House.
Thank you. So tell us what's happening this week, or what happened last week?
Well, last week was historic, was it not? With the president going to a war zone. First time, really, since when that a president has gone to a war zone where there wasn't full control by the U.S. military. It's a big deal, and President Biden was putting a mark in the sand, saying to all authoritarians, not just Vladimir Putin, but also Xi Jinping of China, also any would-be authoritarians throughout the world, that this is a struggle between democracy and dictatorship, and democracy is going to win. That's what Biden says, and that's what he's going to do.
Ultimately, truth always prevails. But tell me, here he didn't went to Ukraine. He didn't went by Air Force One. How did he go?
Well, he went by 757. That was an older plane that was not used by a president traditionally, but because people are constantly monitoring the skies, and if they see Air Force One up ahead, well, then people would make note of that. And so this was a secret mission. He left from this beautiful building at 4 a.m. and flew to Europe, and then he flew on to Poland, and then 10-hour train ride.
Train one.
Yes.
First time in several years, several decades, a president has taken train one.
It's a big deal. It was a big deal. And that photograph that was taken by Evan of President Biden in this curtained train with the National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, discussing what they're going to do when they're there.
Tell me, a year after the war, after Ukraine was invaded by Russia, where does the international community stands now? Are we on the cusp or on the brink of a third world war, or that has been avoided?
This is a balance. And I don't think anybody within the administration is going to say that they absolutely have this balance down. They don't want to get into World War III, and this is why they're resisting sending F-16 fighters to Ukraine. They're not trying to provoke Russia. Actually, I don't even think they, quote, really want Russia to, quote, lose the war. What they want is for Russia to pull back and say enough. Because, I mean, the trouble with a chaotic situation is you think it's bad now, you don't know how bad it could become. And so they have to be very concerned about what could happen next.
A year after, how do you analyze or rate President Biden's policy on Ukraine? Has it been successful? If yes, how far? Has it not been successful? If not, why not?
If you're going to give it a grade, you have to give it an A+. I mean, he really has demonstrated what age brings you, and that is you hope it brings you wisdom with experience. And he has had decades of experience as chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. He has been instrumental in figuring out how to maintain NATO. When he started his campaign in 2020, he said that he was very concerned about democracy, and NATO is part of maintaining democracy in the world. And so President Biden truly is a savior for NATO, which was really on the rocks, and for world democracy. He's going to go down in history, even if he's a one-term president, as a consequential president, just for this alone.
Tell me, that reminds me one more thing. A question to you. When is President going to announce his decision on to run?
Oh, he already announced. His wife, okay. Dr. Jill Biden, already said, oh yeah, he's going to do that.
Where did she say that?
She said that on a
Africa,
recent...
right?
Yes.
Okay.
No, but she said that. She was asked, and she said, oh yeah, he's going to run. So we got to believe, we know if the wife says it, it must be true.
So for all practical purposes, he's running.
He's running, which I actually didn't think was going to happen months ago. I really didn't. I thought
When he talks about this, his agenda are unfinished right now. What are his agenda that he needs to finish in the second term, the next 2 years, or in the next 2 years?
all right, there are two things that he needs to fix, and one is that he absolutely needs to lock in many of the gains that he has made for infrastructure, on social issues, and also on democracy. He has done a tremendous amount in forwarding the cause of democracy, but now he needs to sell it to the American people. He still is hovering around 44% in the in almost all polls and approval ratings, and so, and many people, you know, we saw with the train derailment, there are many of people that are criticizing Biden and say, well, why wasn't the administration more engaged in that? Why did he go to Ukraine? Why does it matter to us? And what President Biden is saying is, this is vital for American democracy to support our democratic allies.
And I think that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to do best for what he thinks is the best for the country.
Absolutely.
What else is happening on the domestic front?
Here?
Yep.
Well, the great train derailment. And this proves, maybe more than anything else, why regulations are so important.
Yeah.
Because they provide a basis for safety standards. I mean, if we had a drug industry that didn't have a way of approving drugs, then you'd have dangerous chemicals on the market, nostrums that would have no that could hurt people.
So this trail derailment is the ecological, environmental disaster that's happened in Palestine, in Ohio, right? The city of Palestine,
Yes.
Ohio. What impact is it going to have on the elections in 2024?
I don't know. I mean,
early.
it's too early to know. Now, this part of Ohio is a deeply red part of the country. It's by a wide margin supportive of former President Trump.
Right.
And of course, former President Trump latched onto that.
He visited that place.
Yes.
Yeah. And his video went viral.
Right, but of course it was a branding exercise. He passed out campaign hats.
Yeah.
He passed out water. I mean, it could have been tap water for all we know, but it was branded. I mean, what did that have to do with regulation, with getting the train safer? Nothing. But it was about jumping into a vacuum and being able to, or perceived vacuum, and being able to.
One thing I wanted to ask you, President Trump, now there are two more candidates in the Republican Party who have officially announced they are running for 2024 elections. One is Nikki Haley, former governor of South Carolina, and his ambassador to the UN, who served under the Trump administration. Other one is a young guy, Vivek Ramaswamy. He's 37 years of age, almost half the age of President Biden or President Trump. Tell us about anything this says about the Republican Party's race. Who else are going to win the race in coming months?
I don't know, but one thing is clear.
Is DeSantis running the Florida governor?
There's no doubt that he's running. He's already getting a huge amount of influx of money. The Koch brothers have provided a huge influx of cash. The problem is that the Republican Party is divided. It can't decide whether it's going to support former President Trump or whether it's going to support the governing branch of the Republican Party that is best represented by the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who those two have vastly different ideas of how we conduct ourselves in the world. Former President Trump continues to be to praise Vladimir Putin, whereas Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says, no, our support for Ukraine is we must do this. We must continue to lead the democratic world and support Ukraine. And of course, if the United States doesn't support Ukraine, this war is won by Russia. There's no doubt about that. I mean, we're providing the vast majority of all support that is going to Ukraine right now. And it's actually, it's taxing our abilities to make munitions fast enough. Right now, Ukrainians are going between 4,000 and 5,000 artillery shells a day,
Right.
and we can't even produce them fast enough.
Is it America's war?
This is a great question. President Biden is trying not to make this a war directly between the United States and Russia. And he's trying to always walk that balance back and forth so that this is not a war between America and Russia, but this is a war between autocracy and democracy. And that's what he wants to continue to make this. Now, there is a worry here because American intelligence assessments believe that China is preparing to supply lethal aid to Russia. And this could complicate matters. This could make it much worse, much harder for Ukrainians to prevail.
So what else is happening in the White House this week?
Well, of course, they're now in India, right? There's this.
Yeah, G20 is happening in India. Foreign ministers, the finance ministers were in Bangalore.
Yeah.
Now the foreign ministers, Secretary Blinken is now flying there. He'll go to Central Asia, then to India to attend foreign ministers meeting of G20 in New Delhi. He will also address the Raisina dialogue with the Quad ministers and have a bilateral meeting with his Indian counterpart, Jaishankar.
This is a huge issue, and what's very important, and this is more important than ever, is we're seeing how important the alliance between the United States, the relationship between India and the United States is. Because
the two world's largest democracy and the world's oldest democracy, and now I can say the world's two most powerful democracies have come together, are more aligned with each other than ever in the past. Well, there are differences between the two countries still, and it has to be. It's both are democratic countries, both have their own interest, but the alignment of the national interests of the two countries are much more than it was in the past. I guess President Biden would travel to New Delhi or India sometime later this year to attend the G20 summit.
yes, that's a big deal.
Yeah, big deal. With this,
I think
we should call it a day, and we'll come back with you with more information from the White House soon.
That's right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks.